We'd all like to think that following a good day's plundering caves and nailing headshots, by the time we hit credits, all is well. However, because games are bigger than ever, their stories needing to satisfy hundreds of hours of play, or being chopped and changed as design goals come and go, we're often left with more questions than answers. Game worlds can be volatile places. Laws get written and established 1 minute, only to get contradicted in DLC or patches. Coupled with the fact we gamers love to pick apart beloved franchises all day, every day, this extends to characters and their lives too. The more fleshed out the context, the easier it is to ask questions that'll probably never be answered. While that can result in an assumed happily ever after for the likes of Super Mario or Shovel Knight, it has the knock-on effect of damning a whole bunch of heroes once you really start thinking. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video game heroes you didn't realize probably died horrible deaths. Number 8, Solaire of Astera, Dark Souls. The tale of Knight Solaire is a depressing one, regardless of the various ways his story can pan out. He pops up a handful of times in From Software's agonizingly hard Dark Souls to lend not just a hand in battle, but also a few lines of dialogue let you in on the secret of him trying to find his son with a U. Souls' core mythology and lore is incredibly deep, albeit reserved for people that will devote hours to mining every art asset and line of dialogue throughout. However, with Solaire, you have someone who actively wants to help you out, available to be talked to for a morale boost alongside you saving him from losing his mind in the depths of Lordaeron. He'll eventually accompany you into the final showdown against Lord Gwyn. Only after you finally defeat this flame sword wielding menace, Solaire phases out of existence like he has in so many previous encounters, banished back into a different plane of existence to be summoned once again by another wandering soul. The twist this time round though is that your character has 2 choices that both bring about Solaire's destruction. You either manage to ignite the final flame, restoring light to Lordaeron, becoming engulfed in the fire, but only for as long as your soul can burn and darkness once again consumes the land, or you walk away from this duty to become the next Dark Lord, eventually killing Solaire in combat when someone else summons him against you. It's kinda poetic, but also extremely sad. Number 7, Conker. Conker's Bad Fur Day. This is more like Conker's Bad Fur Life, as following an incredibly fun Aliens parody where Conker lamps a xenomorph around a room, the completion of the game sees him forcibly placed onto a throne, presiding over a kingdom surrounded by a ton of people he genuinely despises. Thing is, Conker by no means wants to take up the throne in the first place, instead lamenting the fact that his girlfriend and entire reason for embarking on this adventure in the first place had been gunned down in a previous level. Now all alone and surrounded by people he truly hates, with a character trait that already makes him favor alcohol to destructive levels, chances are that final shot of Conker looking down to the ground before slowly raising his eyes to the camera highlights a supremely dark suicidal thought. Turns out that developers Rare had the same idea, as Conker's eventual suicide was the game's original ending, with Conker deciding to blow his own brains out. However, somewhere along the way, they decided that this probably wasn't such a good idea due to the potential for future installments and the realization that they'd actually created one of the most unique characters in gaming history, so we got this thing instead. As Conker never did any more sequels and 2005's Live and Reloaded was a remake of this game though, that ending is pretty final. Number 6, Jack Marsden, Red Dead Redemption. As many fans have screamed ever since the game switched control, Jack Marsden is nowhere near as cool, calm, and capable as Father John. After getting revenge on Edgar Ross for killing dear old dad, there's just way too much to suggest that things won't go Jack's way in the immediate future. For one, Jack Marsden was raised entirely as a farmhand, knowing more about rustling cattle than firing pistols. And whilst you can make the case for not knowing what he's been up to in between turning back up at the gravesite, Red Dead's timeline states that it's only been 3 years. Chances are if he wasn't learning how to shoot, negotiate, or skin from someone, he'd be taking care of his mother Abigail. After all, her death is likely why he's back at that gravesite in the first place. Jack is suddenly thrown into a world of bandits and bounties, with the latter made up of middle-aged outlaws who have been doing this thing for thrice his lifetime. Needless to say, if a cougar doesn't get him on the way to the next saloon, any random bandit could just shoot him to pieces from a mile away. Number 5, Roman Bellic, Grand Theft Auto 4. GTA 4 managed to take the wacky, overblown nature of San Andreas and flip it on its head, becoming the Michael Mann to San Andreas' Michael Bay. Although that does divide fans to this day, the story and characters were incredibly solid, and GTA 4's ending looked to wrap everything up nicely. However, regardless of your decision to spare Roman near the end of the game, Nico's past life continues to catch up to him, and it's only a matter of time before your newfound reputation, brought about by torching literally everything and everyone in your way, ends up clapping Roman as well. And that's only if Nico doesn't do it himself, with Roman's constant pestering for companionship and a trip down the bowling alley every 5 minutes being enough to send any sane man round the bend, let alone an ex-Russian militant who only went through all of this because Roman lied to him in the first place. Number 4. Violet Summer, Velvet Assassin. The potential for greatness in stylish stealth action gem Velvet Assassin was there in spades, with the story being told through flashbacks, eventually getting back up to the present. Sadly though, just when you think things are going to thunder forward, one of the worst endings ever committed to video games plays out. Not only does the hospital where Violet is hiding out get besieged by Nazis, but in her weakened state there's not much left to do other than get ogled at by the game's camera as she burns out amongst a sea of flames. Surely Violet's gonna pull herself through, right? Throughout the game she's taken on worse and come out unscathed. Surely she's gonna find a way. Well, no. Being that the neighboring village full of people that she was trying to save have all been torched to cinders and she herself is now suffering from a mortal sniper's bullet wound, Violet is left with 2 options. Number 1, either go out guns blazing, but to be honest, she's in a hospital and there's not exactly a whole bunch of guns, providing that she can summon the strength to stand. Or number 2, succumb to yet more emotional blackouts due to the trauma of a miniature genocide happening right outside. It seems that Replay Studios were going for the whole Nazi Germany was the worst thing ever routine, and that totally would have worked if they'd built a strong protagonist who was cut down in her prime. Instead, this falls apart completely, trying to sexualize a death scene, then leaving Violet with no option other than to die when no one comes to help. Number 3, Doom Guy, Doom 64. Come the end of Doom 64, you'd fought thousands of waves of enemies, ranging from the inventively macabre to the downright ugly. Thus, when the final boss is defeated, Doom Guy resigns himself to stay in hell to make sure that no other demons can ever come out. How noble. Hang on a minute though, this guy is choosing to stay in hell. The place where endlessly regurgitating enemies roam free, lakes of fire cascade through every chasm, and the devil sprinkles his own lawn with acid rain. You know, hell. Rather than return to the surface to find a Doom Guy 2 or a fellow platoon of Marines that are also willing to go down there and do a shift pattern or something, this guy's instead gonna be served up to the eternal hellspawn as a particularly stubbled pate on burnt toast come the following morning. I mean, sure, you have to hand it to a guy who wants to throw away something as meaningful as finding a life partner or a hobby, instead choosing to defend Earth forever, all the while growing older and older. Also, there's no food in hell, and I really can't imagine a cacodemon tasting like chicken. Number 2, Jason Brody, Far Cry 3. The progression of Far Cry 3 is supposed to take you from unassuming frat boy into tribal warrior, cutting your teeth on the spears of the population of the island itself, only stopping to level up and headshot the occasional shark for skinning and crafting. However, the game does give you 2 possible endings, with both not going very well for main man Jason Brody. One ending leaves him on the island without any of his friends or former social circles, meaning his jarring transition from lover of the killers to just being a killer will drive him over the edge in time anyway. The second ending shows a ship leaving the island, which you can assume that Brody is on, but he's still been through an insane amount of traumatic events. Even putting these down to some crazy survival instinct fever dream, they're gonna haunt Jason for years to come, likely leading to him returning to the island or going off to skin something in the back garden to make an arrow holster. Either way, it is all downhill from here. And number 1, The Dragonborn, Skyrim. Back when Bethesda were held aloft as one of the greatest RPG developers of the time, Skyrim proved to longtime gamers and newcomers alike that a world full of dynamic AI and tailored quest design could be one of the most fun adventures you could ever play. Along the way, one of the biggest decisions you made was choosing to align yourself with either the Alliance or the Stormcloaks. And although there's no real righteous choice, because both are rampant with moral quandaries once you really start reading into things, you've still become a symbol for the rebellion against whichever side you don't choose. And that's besides making yourself the enemy of every bandit encampment, troll infestation, underground uprising, or remotely intelligent demon seed along the way. Come the end of Skyrim, the Dragonborn is the most well-known controversial entity across all of Tamriel. If thousands of remaining enemies don't knife you in your sleep, the fact that the land was tipped in such a violent way with you at the center means that come the next uprising, you'll have an entire hemisphere's worth of people baying for your blood. And those are some really nitpicky thoughts on the post-credits lives of various video game heroes. It's all just for fun, but let me know your own favorites down in the comments below. Which video game hero do you really have a tough time believing that they really made it out alive? I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com. Please check out the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast, and I'll catch you soon.